Hey guys, Mark Brown here with 11 Aviation. I've got about 8,000 hours flying Kodiaks the last 12 years, and we're sitting here in a Kodiak 100 Series 3. This is a 2022 Kodiak, and I'm going to walk you through how to start a Kodiak 100 today. So the first thing I do when I get in the cockpit is I turn the master and the avionics bus on. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to have all three of these screens energized, lit up. So I've got my PFD1, my MFD, and my PFD2. And the reason I like to start it with the MFD on is the MFD has my trend data card, it has all my info, it has my engine gauges. I prefer to start it with the MFD on so I get the starting trend data. That's just a little bit better practice. However, if you go into reversionary mode here, you can also just start it with just the master on off the PFD. Neither way's right or wrong, but how I prefer to do it is with all three of these screens on. So master avionics on, that gets both of my comms up. I can listen to ATIS over the speaker and sort of get things set up before I actually start the engine. I can conserve fuel, and then when I'm ready to go, the line staff doesn't have to wait for me to get everything set up. I'm ready to go and I'm ready to taxi right away. So once you have all your screens lit up, I'm checking my circuit breakers to make sure they're all in. I'm checking up here to make sure my fuel is both on. And then I check my annunciators to see what I got. So I have currently three yellow flashing annunciators. Fuel pressure low, alternator fail, generator fail, those are obvious. The engine's not starting, so I don't have fuel pressure, and my alternator and generator are not currently on. In order to then start the airplane, all of my throttle levers are in the aft position. Of course, if we had the prop on the pitch latch, the prop lever might be up, but in a normal Kodiak start, all my levers are aft, fuel's cut off, props in feather, throttle's at idle, emergency power is back in the rear position. And then I'm going to reach over here. My starting gauges are all in this left-hand cluster. I turn my ignition on. I want to be able to hear it, so it's very faint, but I can hear that my igniter's turned on. I go fuel pump to standby. I check my fuel page to make sure that my fuel pressure is up at about 30 psi with that fuel pump on, and it's running in standby. And then I go all the way up to fuel pump on. It's still running, I still have fuel pressure. And I have two starting modes, so let me talk about that without that noise. I have a high start, which is the up position, and I have a low start or a low motor position. Essentially, the difference between the two is the low starts it off one battery, the high uses both batteries together and starts it. Kodiak initially added the high start before the aircraft was certified because to do a quick turn, we thought, well, there's other single engine turboprops that have a little bit of a hot starting problem if you shut the airplane down and then try to start it immediately back up. So the high start we thought would be a quicker and a cooler start, which it is. However, it's really hard on the batteries, so it's not something that I really recommend using that often. Most 99% of the time, I'm just using the low motor position to start the Kodiak 100. So once again, ignition on, fuel pump up to on, and the starter goes down to low. I'm gonna hold it until I see about 14% or higher. And after that, I add the fuel to low idle. I'm monitoring now ITT and NG percentage. The ITT, I want to make sure that it stays in the green. And then once my NG percentage gets to 52 or higher, I can let the starter switch go, and now the aircraft is started. So again, NG percentage, ITT are the two I'm looking for, and I'm really just making sure they're all in the green. After I start up, I make sure that everything's green, my annunciators are normal. I release the starter switch, I turn my igniters off, fuel pump goes to standby, my auxiliary bus comes on, that turns on my environmentals. My generator comes on, I check to make sure my generator amps are in the green. My alternator comes on, I make sure my alternator amps are in the green. And now I can bring the prop out of feather, and I usually set 20 degrees of flaps.
Once again, for that after start checklist, I release the starter switch because of course it's a spring-loaded switch. We have to hold that the entire time. I go ignition off, fuel pump to standby, auxiliary bus on, which turns my AC or my environmentals on. My generator comes on, my alternator comes on, and I'm looking at my amps when I turn those on. Generators on the top, alternators on the bottom. And then I usually bring the prop out of feather, and then I like to go ahead and set my 20-degree takeoff flaps here just so I remember them, because the Kodiak's really designed, once the airplane's started, everything's green. I'm really ready set right now to take off. We don't need a warm-up, we don't really need a run-up. So if you're on a shorter strip, or of course if we were on floats on the water, we got to get this thing started and ready to taxi right away. So essentially the minute I got that prop forward, those flaps in, I'm ready to go. So that's how you start a Kodiak 100 Series 3. For more content, for more training videos, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe this channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.